The Galactic Council chamber was a monument to the unity of 1,000 species, a towering, crystalline hall floating above the luminous core of the Proxima Nexus. Within its vast, circular walls, delegates of every major spacefaring race debated, brokered treaties, and maintained the delicate balance of power that kept the galaxy from spiraling into chaos. Today, however, an unexpected challenger stood at the center of this grand assembly. A human. Ambassador Elias Carter stood tall despite being surrounded by towering Zorvathian warlords, calculating Vixari traders, and the coldly logical Orixi collectors. Humans were newcomers to the galactic scene. Less than 2 decades had passed since their first contact, but already, they had gained a reputation as an unpredictable and dangerous species. Today, they would either cement that reputation or doom their kind to irrelevance. A 7-foot-tall Silithian chancellor loomed over him, her serpentine body coiling with restrained amusement. Her voice slithered through the chamber, dripping with condescension. Ambassador Carter, let me ensure I understand your proposal correctly. You wish to stake the fate of your species on a single contest? A gamble against the might of the galaxy's greatest races? The murmurs of the assembled delegates were a mixture of laughter, disbelief, and intrigue. Humanity's home system, Sol, was a resource-poor backwater on the galactic scale. They had neither the fleet nor the technology to enforce their will. And yet, here stood their ambassador, making an outrageous demand. Elias smiled, his expression sharp as a blade. That's exactly what I'm saying, Chancellor. Humanity is tired of being treated as an irrelevant minor power. You've blocked our trade routes, denied us access to crucial star charts, and pushed us to the edge of extinction with your bureaucratic restrictions. We don't want to beg for scraps. We want our place at the table. And your proposal? A challenge. A single test of ingenuity, strategy, and endurance. If we succeed, humanity gains full recognition as a Tier 1 power, free from your restrictions. If we fail, we accept our place as second-class citizens of the galaxy. The chamber erupted. Some laughed outright. Others whispered among themselves, considering the implications. The idea of a small, unproven species making such a gamble was unheard of. The Silithian Chancellor curled her lips into something resembling a smile. You would risk everything on a single contest? And what, Ambassador Carter, would this challenge entail? Elias turned his gaze toward the gleaming construct floating at the center of the chamber, a holographic representation of the survival crucible, a brutal, high-stakes competition that only the greatest civilizations dared to enter. It was a relic from an older time, once used to test the mettle of newly emerging species. Few had ever passed. Humanity will enter the crucible, Elias declared. And we will win. A hush fell over the chamber. Even the most warlike races hesitated before entering the crucible. It was a contest of survival, where teams were thrown into an unknown and hostile environment filled with traps, predators, and extreme conditions. Only by working together, adapting, and outlasting their rivals could a species claim victory. The Vixari delegate, a multi-eyed creature known for its ruthless trade empire, clicked its mandibles in amusement. A bold wager. But no species has entered the crucible in over 1,000 years. And the last ones who did? They were never heard from again. Elias didn't blink. We're not them. The Chancellor considered for a moment before nodding. Very well, human. We accept your wager. Humanity shall enter the survival crucible. If you emerge victorious, the Council will grant your people full recognition as a Tier 1 civilization. But should you fail, the consequences will be dire. Elias nodded, hiding the tension in his gut. Then it settled. As the chamber erupted into renewed discussion, he turned and strode toward the exit, already thinking ahead. The crucible was designed to break civilizations. If humanity was to survive, they would need their best minds, their bravest soldiers, and their most cunning strategists. Failure meant subjugation. Success meant carving humanity's name into the stars. It was the boldest gamble in history. And the game had just begun. The moment Elias Carter stepped off the Galactic Council's floating citadel, the weight of his decision settled heavily on his shoulders. The bet was placed, and humanity's fate now hinged on their ability to survive the Crucible. There was no turning back. Waiting for him on the diplomatic shuttle was Admiral Samantha Vale of the Terran Defense Fleet. She was a woman of sharp eyes and sharper instincts, a battle-hardened leader who had seen action against pirates, rogue AI, and alien mercenaries. As soon as the shuttle doors sealed, she crossed her arms. "Tell me you didn't just bet the future of our species on a death game," she said, her voice flat but edged with restrained fury. Carter sighed. "I didn't just bet the future of our species on a death game. I bet the future of our species on a winnable death game." Vale exhaled through her nose, but her lips quirked into a small, grudging smirk. "You're lucky I like a challenge." The shuttle shot through the Council's orbital defenses, heading toward the Terran command ship, Indomitable, a massive battleship retrofitted for high-risk missions. Waiting inside was humanity's best hope, a team of specialists carefully selected for the impossible task ahead. As the shuttle landed in the hangar, Carter and Vale disembarked, walking into the briefing room where the team had gathered. The room was a mix of military precision and organized chaos, with engineers running diagnostics, medics reviewing survival protocols, and scientists discussing environmental simulations. Carter scanned the room and took a deep breath. These were the people who would either elevate humanity, or witness its downfall. ###### The Crucible Team ****. Major Ethan Graves ***, a veteran Special Forces operative with years of Black Ops experience. He had the instincts of a predator and a reputation for keeping his squads alive against impossible odds. Dr. Anika Patel ***, a leading xenobiologist with an encyclopedic knowledge of alien ecosystems. If anything out there was trying to kill them, she would figure out how to kill it first. Lieutenant Mark Voss ***, the tech specialist, a genius in AI interfacing, cyber warfare, and drone operations. His creations could tip the balance between life and death. Commander Helene Orloff ***, the team's pilot and engineer, responsible for operating any found technology and navigating unknown terrain. Her motto was simple: if it flies, I can fix it. Sergeant Dax Brenner ***, a demolitions expert with an unsettling love for high-yield explosives. Just in case we need to convince something not to eat us, he had joked. Carter stepped forward, the room falling silent. He met each of their eyes, making sure they understood what was at stake. "You all know why you're here," he began. "The galaxy sees us as weak. As a minor power not worth considering. I just changed that. We've been entered into the survival crucible, and if we win, we claim our rightful place among the stars. If we fail..." Graves leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Then we're the last generation of free humans." Carter nodded grimly. "We don't have the technology of the Vixari or the brute strength of the Zorvathians. But we have something else: adaptability, strategy, and sheer, stubborn will. The Crucible is designed to test a civilization's worth. I say we prove we deserve to stand among the best." Vale took over, her tone all business. "We leave for the Crucible arena in 48 hours. We'll be facing unknown environments, extreme conditions, and alien teams that have trained for this for generations. We have no idea what's coming, but we'll prepare for everything." Patel raised a hand. "Any idea who else is competing?" Carter's expression darkened. 3 other civilizations have accepted the challenge. The Vixari, cold, calculating, and masters of logistics. The Zorvathian clans, brutal, savage warriors who thrive in chaos. And the Orixi collectors, synthetic intelligences that play by rules only they understand. Brenner whistled. "So, we're up against killer bugs, space Vikings, and machines." "Lovely." Voss grinned. "Sounds like fun." Carter's voice cut through their murmurs. "We are humanity's first and last line of defense in this challenge. Every civilization that has entered the Crucible in the past 1,000 years has failed. But they weren't us." Graves cracked his knuckles. Damn right, they weren't. Vale smiled. Then let's show the galaxy what humanity is made of. As the team dispersed, preparing for the unknown horrors ahead, Carter felt something he hadn't allowed himself to before. Hope. The gamble was made. Now it was time to play the game. The journey to the Crucible was shorter than anyone expected. The Galactic Council's flagship, Eternal Judgment, carried the competing teams to a deep space sector known as the Shroud Expanse, an uncharted void where ancient alien ruins and stellar anomalies made navigation nearly impossible. Here, hidden within the dust clouds and shattered moons, lay the Crucible's battlefield, an artificial world built millennia ago by a now extinct race, its purpose long forgotten, except for this one brutal tradition. Carter and his team stood in the observation bay of the Indomitable, watching as the Crucible came into view. It was a sprawling, planetary construct, a world of shifting terrain, deep labyrinths, and hostile ecosystems, all designed to test the limits of survival. That, Brenner muttered, staring at the jagged mountains and storm-covered wastelands below, looks like a bad idea waiting to happen. That, Patel corrected, is a carefully engineered death trap. Vale exhaled sharply. Then we better be ready for anything. A communication ping flashed across their consoles. The Silithian Chancellor's voice echoed through the room, smug as ever. Competitors of the Crucible, welcome to your proving ground. Your survival begins, now. With a sudden jolt, their ship lurched forward, caught in a gravity field. Warning sirens blared as automated systems overrode their flight controls. Brace for impact. Orloff shouted, gripping the nearest console. The Indomitable was being pulled down. The descent was chaos. Their ship plummeted through an atmosphere thick with ion storms and unpredictable wind currents. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating glimpses of a world that seemed to shift before their eyes, deserts turning to tundra, jungles warping into barren canyons. Orloff fought the controls. We're caught in some kind of gravitational flux. This planet is moving. That's not possible, Voss said, but his fingers danced across the console, trying to counteract whatever forces were at work. Less talking, more landing. Vale barked. Orloff gritted her teeth, reversed thrusters at the last second, and managed to pull the ship into a rough, but survivable, crash landing. The hull screeched as they skidded across jagged ground, finally coming to rest in a canyon surrounded by black stone formations. Silence followed. Then, Graves unstrapped himself and stood. Everyone in one piece? A round of groans and affirmatives confirmed that they had survived. Carter shook his head, unbuckling. We're alive. That's step one. He glanced around. Now comes the hard part. They were in the Crucible now. And the game had truly begun. The air outside the Indomitable was thick with static energy, crackling against their suits as the team disembarked. The sky above was a swirling maelstrom of shifting colors, violet lightning flashed through dense, rolling clouds that looked disturbingly alive. The ground beneath them was black stone, smooth in some places and jagged in others, as if the terrain had been artificially shaped long ago. Atmosphere is breathable, but it's fluctuating, Patel reported, scanning the air with her handheld analyzer. Something's altering the planetary conditions in real time. Voss knelt by the ground, running a gloved hand over the rock. It's not natural. Feels like this whole place is one big machine. Orloff was already mapping the surrounding area. Canyon walls are unstable. We should move before the terrain shifts again. Graves adjusted his rifle. Fine by me. Let's find high ground and get a lay of the land. The team moved quickly, hiking up the sloping canyon path, eyes scanning for threats. They knew they weren't alone. 3 other species had landed on this world, each as determined as they were to survive. The rules were simple: endure, adapt, outlast. And that meant being ready to spill blood. They reached a ridge overlooking a vast expanse, a jungle of twisted, biomechanical trees that pulsed with an eerie, rhythmic glow. Something was moving within the foliage. Something big. Brenner unslung his rifle. We got company. A distant roar echoed through the canyon. The jungle canopy shuddered as something massive pushed through it. Then, through the haze, they saw them, **Zervathian warriors **, towering reptilian brutes clad in segmented armor, their eyes burning with primal fury. Graves cursed. Of course, they landed near us. Carter clenched his fists. The Zervathians were the last species humanity wanted to face first. Their entire civilization thrived on conflict. For them, the Crucible wasn't just a test, it was a battleground, a hunt. And they had already spotted their prey. The lead Zervathian, a scarred brute wielding a brutal, curved plasma axe, let out a deafening war cry, signaling the charge. More of his warriors emerged from the jungle, leaping over obstacles with terrifying speed. They're coming fast, Orloff warned. Then we slow them down, Vale said, eyes cold as steel. Set up a perimeter. We hold this ridge. The team moved in practiced formation. Brenner slammed down explosive charges along the choke points, Voss deployed automated turrets, and Graves took position behind a rock, rifle trained on the advancing enemies. Carter exhaled, heart pounding. This was it. The Crucible wasn't going to give them time to prepare. It was going to throw them straight into the fire. The first Zervathian reached the ridge. Graves fired, his shot striking the alien square in the chest, sending it tumbling backward. Another leapt over the body, swinging its axe, only to be met with an explosion from Brenner's charges. Then the real fight began. The ridge erupted into chaos, gunfire, plasma bolts, and the deafening roar of the Zervathians as they surged forward with relentless aggression. Graves dropped 3 more, but there were too many. One of the brutes closed the distance, slamming into him with bone-crushing force. Graves hit the ground hard, but before the alien could finish him, Vale was there, her combat knife flashing as she drove it into the Zervathian's exposed throat. The warrior gurgled, then collapsed. Stay on your feet. Vale barked. Brenner hooped as another explosion sent a trio of Zervathians flying. Ha! I love this job. Carter fought alongside them, his sidearm snapping off quick, precise shots. The team was holding, but only barely. The Zervathians weren't just attacking, they were adapting, finding new ways to breach their defenses. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the assault slowed. The surviving Zervathians pulled back, retreating into the jungle. Graves wiped blood from his lip. They're regrouping. Carter narrowed his eyes. No. They're testing us. A deep, guttural laugh echoed from the jungle. The Zervathian leader stepped forward, his axe resting casually on his shoulder. His armor was splattered with the blood of his own kind, but he didn't seem to care. You fight well, humans, he rumbled. Better than I expected. Carter met his gaze. You haven't seen anything yet. The Zervathian bared his fangs in a grin. Good. I was worried this would be boring. Then, as suddenly as they had arrived, the Zervathians melted back into the jungle, vanishing into the shifting shadows. Silence returned. Orloff exhaled. We won that round. But they'll be back. Carter holstered his weapon, his mind racing. The Crucible wasn't just about survival, it was a battlefield of strategy, alliances, and calculated risks. The Zervathians had tested them. The next encounter wouldn't be so simple. Then we make sure we're ready, he said. The first battle was over. But the war for survival had only just begun. The adrenaline from the Zervathian attack still coursed through their veins as the team regrouped. Graves flexed his bruised shoulder, testing for any breaks. Patel patched up a deep gash on Brenner's arm while Orloff recalibrated their scanning equipment. Carter paced near the edge of the ridge, staring into the biomechanical jungle where their enemies had disappeared. They could have pushed harder, he muttered. They wanted us to see them. To know they're coming back. Vale crossed her arms. A scare tactic. They're trying to keep us on edge. They're succeeding, Patel said, sealing Brenner's wound with a medgel applicator. We're already running low on ammo and medical supplies. If we don't find resources soon, we won't survive another attack like that. Carter turned to Voss. Any signs of supply caches? The Crucible was designed to be winnable. That means there has to be something out there. Voss worked his tablet, analyzing the terrain ahead. I'm picking up an energy signature about 5 clicks east. Could be a weapons cache. Could also be a death trap. Brenner grinned. So, standard operating procedure? Pretty much, Orloff said, strapping her rifle across her back. With no better options, the team set out, leaving their ridge behind and heading into the biomechanical jungle. The terrain beneath their boots pulsed faintly with a rhythmic hum, as if the ground itself were alive. Trees with metallic veins twisted overhead, their leaves shimmering like glass. Strange, skittering creatures scurried through the underbrush, watching but not attacking. Every step felt like an intrusion. We're being watched, Graves muttered. Yeah, I noticed, Carter said. The deeper they went, the more the jungle changed. The trees became denser, their colors shifting unpredictably from deep green to iridescent blue. The air thickened, charged with an almost magnetic force. The Crucible was adapting. Then, without warning, Voss held up a fist, signaling a halt. Something's ahead. The team crouched low as they peered through the foliage. Just beyond the tree line, nestled between massive rock formations, was what they had come for, a Crucible supply vault, its structure ancient but still intact. Jackpot, Brenner whispered. But they weren't alone. A group of Orixi collectors stood in front of the vault, their sleek, humanoid forms gleaming in the dim light. The Orixi were synthetic intelligences, their metal bodies eerily smooth and devoid of unnecessary features. They moved in perfect synchrony, examining the vault's interface with cold precision. Looks like they found it first, Orloff whispered. Vale clenched her jaw. And they won't give it up without a fight. The Orixi were enigmas. No one knew their true origin, only that they operated on pure logic, existing to collect knowledge and test the worth of organic life. In the Crucible, they weren't just competitors. They were evaluators. And right now, they were in the way. Options? Carter asked. Graves sized up the enemy. If we engage, we need to hit hard and fast. Drawn-out fights aren't in our favor. Patel frowned. We don't even know how they'll react. Maybe they'll let us share the cash. Brenner scoffed. Yeah, and maybe they'll offer us tea and cookies. Carter exhaled, considering their next move. The Crucible wasn't just about brute force, it was about strategy. The Zorvathians had tested them physically. The Orixi? This was a different kind of battle. We're not starting a war unless we have to, he decided. Let's talk first. The team moved out of cover, weapons lowered but ready. The Orixi reacted instantly. Their heads turned in unison, glowing cyan optics scanning the humans. The lead Orixi took a step forward. Unlike the others, this one had faint engravings on its armor, symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Humanity, it said in a voice both artificial and unsettlingly smooth. You have come for the vault. Carter nodded. That's right. We need supplies. The Orixi leader tilted its head. Resources are finite. Conflict is the projected outcome. Not necessarily, Carter countered. There's a chance to share, isn't there? The Orixi processed for a long moment. Then, it spoke again. Humans. You are an anomaly. Predictive models do not account for your unpredictability. Vale's hand drifted toward her sidearm. What's that supposed to mean? The Orixi leader didn't answer. Instead, its cyan optics flickered red. Evaluation required. Combat test initiated. Before anyone could react, the Orixi attacked. Blindingly fast, the lead Orixi lunged at Carter, striking with inhuman precision. He barely dodged, stumbling back as Graves fired his rifle. The Orixi twisted impossibly, avoiding the shot and retaliating with a plasma blade that materialized from its wrist. Vale engaged another, dodging a high-speed strike before countering with a well-placed shot to the knee joint. The Orixi staggered but did not fall. Brenner let out a curse, tossing an explosive. It detonated mid-air, only for one of the Orixi to catch the shrapnel and crush it in its hand. "They're learning," Patel warned. "Then let's teach them a lesson," Graves shouted, unloading his rifle at point-blank range. His shot struck home, sending an Orixi crashing against the vault's metallic wall. The battle was a whirlwind of motion, bullets, plasma, and energy blades clashing in a deadly dance. But unlike the Zorvathians, the Orixi weren't brute force warriors. They were precise, adaptive. Every failed attack made them better. And that made them far more dangerous. Carter dodged another strike and made a decision. They couldn't win this fight conventionally. The Orixi wanted an evaluation? Fine. He'd give them one. Voss. Override the vault system. Make it ours. Voss sprinted to the console, fingers flying over alien controls. "I'm on it." The Orixi realized what was happening. They moved to intercept, only to be met with a synchronized counterattack. Vale tackled one, Graves unloaded his last rounds into another, and Orloff drove her combat knife straight into the optics of a third. Voss shouted, "Got it!" The vault hissed open. A surge of energy burst outward, knocking the remaining Orixi back. Their optics flickered. Then, without a word, they disengaged. The lead Orixi stood, staring at Carter. Evaluation complete. Then, like phantoms, the machines vanished into the jungle. Breathing hard, Carter looked at his team. They were bruised, battered, but victorious. He turned to the open vault. Inside, rows of advanced weaponry, medical supplies, and survival gear gleamed under dim lights. Graves let out a breath. "Well, that was fun." Carter smirked. "Let's gear up. Round 2 is coming." The Crucible had tested them again. And once more, humanity had survived. For now. The supply cache had given the team the boost they needed, medical supplies to treat their injuries, high-powered weapons for the upcoming battles, and the kind of survival gear that would keep them alive on this hostile world for weeks, if necessary. The Orixi had been an unexpected challenge, but they had won the day. However, victory came with a price. They were no longer just survivors in the Crucible. They were targets. And they knew it. "We've been on the defensive too long," Graves said, adjusting the scope on his sniper rifle. "We need to take the fight to them." Carter surveyed the horizon from their new position atop a ridge overlooking a vast, alien city. "That's the Vixari stronghold. We've got no choice. If we don't strike first, we'll never be able to hold our ground." The Vixari, known for their cold, calculating minds and brutal efficiency, were a true threat in the Crucible. Unlike the Zorvathians, who fought with raw strength, the Vixari were masters of strategy, capable of planning several moves ahead. The city sprawled below them like a fortress, a collection of metallic towers, hovering platforms, and vast, open plazas that looked like arenas. Their enemies had clearly spent years perfecting their stronghold. But now, it was about to face a very different kind of opponent. "Any way in?" Voss asked, scanning the area with his tech equipment. Orloff studied a holographic map she'd generated. "There's a weak spot on the north side. Looks like they didn't account for terrain instability there. We can slip in unnoticed." "Perfect," Carter said. "Get us in. We strike fast, hit their leadership, and take control of their main command center. No games, no hesitation." The team moved through the night, using the cover of darkness to their advantage. They reached the Vixari stronghold's outer walls without detection, the terrain shifting underfoot with a strange hum that reverberated through their bones. It was clear now that the Crucible's environment wasn't just a battleground, it was a weapon. Orloff set charges on the outer wall, quickly bypassing the Vixari's perimeter defenses with her engineering skills. "Ready when you are," she said, her voice steady. Brenner, ever the explosives enthusiast, gave her a thumbs up. Blow it. With a deafening roar, the wall crumbled. The team rushed inside, weapons raised, eyes scanning the immediate surroundings. They had to be swift, Vixari reinforcements would be on them soon. They crept through narrow alleys and into the heart of the stronghold. Every corner held danger, every shadow seemed to shift. The Vixari were a calculating species, and the moment they realized an enemy was within their walls, they would become predators. They found their target, the Vixari leader, a figure draped in silver armor, standing before a holographic display of the Crucible's map. His face was stern, his eyes sharp, he was calculating their moves before they even made them. Vixari, surrender, Carter called, stepping into the room. The Crucible ends here. The Vixari leader turned slowly, his cold gaze locking onto Carter. His voice was smooth, but it carried the weight of an unstoppable force. You dare challenge the Vixari in our stronghold? You are insignificant in the face of our might. Graves leveled his rifle at the leader, but Carter held up a hand. No. We do this differently. You want this to be a game? Then let's play. The Vixari leader sneered. Very well, human. But know this, victory for your species is an illusion. The Crucible is not a trial, it is extinction. Suddenly, the ground trembled. The walls of the stronghold began to shift, revealing hidden doors and passageways. From every direction, Vixari warriors flooded the chamber, their weapons drawn, their eyes gleaming with murderous intent. Carter's mind raced. They were outnumbered, trapped in a reinforced stronghold. The Vixari had anticipated every move they had made. And then Carter realized the trap. The Vixari hadn't been trying to kill them. They had been waiting for this moment, hoping the humans would engage. They wanted to see how humanity would react under pressure. Hold the line. Carter ordered. Graves, Brenner, and Vale moved into formation, firing at the advancing Vixari with deadly precision. Orloff and Voss rushed to find the nearest escape route, but every exit was blocked by more of the Vixari's advanced technology. We're not getting out of here, Orloff shouted over the comms. This is a kill zone. Patel scanned the room. There's an access point up top, a ventilation shaft. We can get through there. Go. Carter shouted. We'll hold them off. Get the team out. The team split into two groups, half heading for the shaft, the other holding the line. Carter's pulse raced as the Vixari charged. They were relentless, each attack more calculated than the last. Graves picked off their elite warriors with surgical precision, but there were too many. Brenner launched a series of explosives, clearing a path, but it wasn't enough. Move! Carter shouted as he fired his last round. The team made a break for the shaft. As they climbed up, the Vixari unleashed a barrage of plasma fire, narrowly missing them. The walls exploded around them, sending rubble tumbling into the chamber. Go, go, go! Vale shouted as she helped Patel climb. They're coming! Graves reached the top, pulling himself into the ventilation shaft just in time to avoid a crushing blow. One by one, the team scrambled to safety, but just as Carter started to climb, a Vixari warrior lunged at him. In a flash, Graves pulled him to safety, and Carter felt the world shift beneath him. The ventilation shaft closed behind them, leaving the Vixari warriors below, frustrated but alive. For now. The team climbed through the narrow ventilation shaft, the walls humming with an unsettling resonance. The air was thin, and their progress was slow, but the need to escape the Vixari stronghold pushed them forward. Carter led the way, his mind racing. The Vixari had almost trapped them. Yet, the Crucible wasn't just about survival, it was about adaptability. It was time to turn the tide. They emerged into a large chamber, the walls covered in sleek, shifting holograms that projected maps of the planet. The central command room was alive with activity, the glowing blue light illuminating the team's faces as they crouched low. We're in, Voss whispered, glancing around at the array of high-tech terminals and surveillance systems. The heart of their operation. Now what? Graves asked, his voice tight with urgency. We're on borrowed time. The Vixari will come for us. Carter stood tall, scanning the room. He wasn't thinking about survival anymore. Not just survival. They had to take control. They needed to shift the balance of the Crucible, turn the game in humanity's favor. We take the fight to the next level, Carter said, determination in his voice. We force the Crucible's hand. Patel raised an eyebrow. Force it how? By activating the central systems, Carter replied. We're going to turn their technology into our weapon. Are you insane? Orlov shot back, but Carter's steely gaze held her in place. We take this system down from the inside. We control the Crucible. They'll have no choice but to listen. Vale nodded. It's a long shot, but we don't have any better options. Carter motioned to Voss. Get to work. We need control of the Crucible's systems. Now. Voss approached the central terminal, his fingers flying across the holographic controls. I'm in. But there's a catch, this system is protected by failsafes. If we trigger the wrong sequence, it'll lock us out permanently. Carter didn't hesitate. Do it. We're out of time. Voss's fingers moved even faster, and the terminal hummed with increasing intensity. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, and a loud alarm blared. Too late. Voss shouted. They know we're here. The walls of the chamber began to shift, revealing multiple exits that led to narrow corridors. The sound of marching feet grew louder, Vixari reinforcements were closing in. We've got maybe 5 minutes before the whole stronghold comes down on us, Voss warned. Enough time to make them regret underestimating us, Carter said, his eyes flashing with fierce resolve. Graves, Brenner, Vale, cover us. Orlov, Patel, Voss, you're with me. We move fast. The team spread out, securing positions at the room's entrances, weapons at the ready. But their focus remained on the central terminal. Carter's plan was simple: activate the system, seize control, and turn the Vixari's weapons against them. If they succeeded, they would have the ultimate advantage in the Crucible. If they failed, it didn't matter. Failure wasn't an option. Vixari soldiers began pouring into the room, their weapons glowing with deadly intent. Graves and Brenner opened fire, their precision shots cutting down the first wave. Vale darted into cover, firing on the advancing Vixari with ruthless accuracy. But for every Vixari that fell, 2 more took its place. The air crackled with energy as plasma blasts and gunfire rang out, creating a deadly symphony of chaos. Graves reloaded, his eyes scanning the enemy positions. We're outnumbered. We can hold them off, Carter said through clenched teeth. Voss, how's it coming? Voss didn't look up from the terminal. His voice was tight. Almost there, just one more override. Another blast shook the chamber, and Carter's vision blurred with the impact. He ducked behind a column as the Vixari closed in. Brenner fired off a rocket, sending another group of soldiers flying, but the sheer number of Vixari made it impossible to keep them back. Not enough. Vale shouted, barely dodging a plasma shot. We can't keep holding them. Carter's heart raced. They couldn't fail now. They would not fail. He glanced at Voss. You have to finish this, now. With a final, rapid keystroke, Voss slammed his hand down on the terminal. Done. The entire stronghold shuddered. The lights flickered, and the energy in the air seemed to pulse. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then the chaos hit. The central control systems, now under the team's control, activated. The walls of the stronghold transformed into weapons. Automated defenses, once aimed solely at the team, shifted to target the Vixari. Energy cannons and plasma turrets sprung to life, raining down deadly fire on the invading soldiers. The Vixari screeched in alarm as their own technology turned against them. The air was filled with the sounds of laser fire and explosions as their forces scrambled, realizing too late that their fate was sealed. "We did it!" Patel shouted, disbelief in her voice. Carter smiled grimly. "We're not out yet. Keep moving." The team made their way toward the exits, using the chaos to their advantage. As they emerged from the stronghold, they saw the Vixari retreating, unable to withstand the onslaught of their own weapons. The skies above were filled with the distant explosions of a battle that had turned in humanity's favor. "Where do we go now?" Orlov asked, breathing heavily. Carter looked up at the horizon, where the light of the Crucible's twin suns bathed the planet in an eerie glow. "We survive. We take control. And we prove that humanity is the one species that will outlast them all." The Vixari had underestimated them. But humanity had just proven that it was not to be underestimated. The final gambit had paid off. And the Crucible was humanity's to win.